competition and lower prices for consumers, this will be indeed the golden age of America.
Trump says he's bringing back the golden age of America, but with grocery prices shooting up, interest rates stuck at 20-year highs, and the stock market feeling more like a roller coaster, it's hard to not ask, really? So in this video, we're breaking down Trump's bold economic promises, from tax cuts to bringing jobs back home, and whether this so-called comeback is actually possible. So keep watching, and by the end, you'll know whether his proposals could spark a real comeback or just more chaos. So let's get started. Trump versus the Federal Reserve. Let's start with one of Trump's biggest economic battles, which is the Federal Reserve. So during his last presidency, he often clashed with Fed Chair Jerome Powell over interest rate hikes, arguing they slowed economic growth. Now, sitting at 2-decade highs, Trump believes the Fed's policies are choking the economy. The Fed, on the other hand, sees these high rates as necessary to control inflation. But this push and pull between Trump and the Fed is a central thread in almost everything else he's proposing, from job creation to tax reform. Which brings us to his plan to tackle one of the biggest issues hitting Americans right now, which is inflation. Inflation has been crushing household budgets, from groceries to gas to rent to the cost of living. It just keeps climbing. Trump says his approach to cutting inflation relies on 3 key moves. First, expand domestic energy production. Drill more, cut regulations, and bring energy prices down. Secondly, tariffs, especially on goods from China and other countries, to make imports less attractive and boost U.S. production. And third, reduce government spending to avoid overheating the economy. Critics warn these moves could backfire. Tariffs can raise prices on goods, and spending cuts without a clear plan could affect important programs. But Trump insists the long-term solution is less dependency on imports and a leaner federal budget. Inflation is one side of the equation, taxes are on the other. Trump made tax cuts a cornerstone of his first term. He's proposing bigger middle-class tax breaks to boost take-home pay, and wants to slash corporate tax rates to encourage job creation and keep businesses in the U.S. On top of that, he's pushing to eliminate the estate tax or death tax to make passing on family wealth easier. The challenge with this, critics are arguing that cutting taxes without reducing spending could balloon the national debt. But Trump believes that stronger economic growth will help to balance the books. Now, all of these moves, lower taxes, less regulation, tie into something Trump keeps coming back to, and that is restoring the American economy to what he calls the golden age. Trump often paints a picture of America's economic past when U.S. factories were booming, taxes were low, and the country led the world in manufacturing. To him, that's just not nostalgia, right? It's the goal. He wants more American-made products, fewer business rules, and full of energy independence. Critics say the world has changed too much. Global supply chains and cheaper labor overseas make it tough to bring that era back. But Trump believes this kind of stable, self-reliant economy is exactly what America needs in uncertain times. So how does he plan to make this happen? Trump's broader plan starts with a simple message: the current economy is broken. While interest rates are high, debt ballooning, and confidence shaken, he's pushing for a reset. This means lowering rates, slashing regulations, and introducing tougher trade policies, especially with countries like China. Supporters say that this could boost domestic production and build business confidence, but others worry about the risk, tariffs that raise prices, strained trade relationships, and inflation flaring up again if interest rates are slashed too quickly. Still, Trump believes the key to fixing the chaos is rebuilding what we lost, starting with American industry. Made in America isn't just a slogan for Trump, it's a mission. He wants to raise tariffs on imports, give tax breaks to companies to stay in the U.S., and prioritize American-made goods for government contracts. Supporters say this could bring jobs back and revive towns hurt by factory closures. But opponents point out that higher tariffs often mean higher prices for raw materials, which get passed on to consumers. Even so, Trump sees this not only as an economic move, but as a security one. Less reliance on foreign supply chains means more control at home. And that leads right into energy, another area where he wants America to stand alone. Energy costs touch everything. Transportation, heating, groceries, you name it. Trump's plan is to expand oil and gas drilling, scale back environmental regulations, and promote coal and nuclear energy. He believes that more supply will drive down energy costs and help ease inflation across the board. Environmental groups argue this ignores the climate crisis and can stall clean energy progress. But Trump says that in tough times, affordable energy must come first for families and businesses alike. And cheaper energy is one more way to support a growing economy, especially if rates come down. Which brings us back to the Fed. Essentially, Trump wants interest rates lowered, but the Fed is independent, so he can't force it. What he can do is appoint Fed-friendly officials, publicly pressure the central bank, or use policy tools to slow growth and push the Fed into action. Lower rates could boost home buying, business expansion, and the stock market. But if cuts come too quickly, inflation could return with a vengeance. Markets, of course, are watching closely. So, during Trump's first term, the stock market rose sharply on tax cuts and deregulation. But it also dropped during trade tensions, which is actually what we're experiencing now. As we're seeing now, investors are experiencing volatility from trade battles, which could ultimately turn into long-term gains from pro-business reforms and energy expansion. Energy stocks in particular could benefit. Still, inflation and rate decisions will be the biggest factors shaping investor confidence going forward, which leads us to the final piece of the puzzle. Can Trump actually lower interest rates? Trump can't order the Fed to cut rates, but he can influence the landscape. By shaping the Fed through appointments, applying public pressure, and changing policy conditions, he hopes to create an environment where rate cuts feel necessary. If it works, we could see cheaper loans, a more active stock market, and faster growth. But if it's mishandled, the risk of inflation or even a recession comes right back into play. So, what do you think? Are Trump's bold economic ideas what the country needs, or are they a high-stakes gamble? Let me know in the comments below, all right? Let me know what you think. So, if this breakdown helped, hit the like and subscribe button for more insights into money, markets, and major moves. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.